95.3 WBCK now presents Coach's Corner, live from Lakeview Ford. For over 6 decades, this has been your number one source for all local sports information. Coach's Corner is proudly presented by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now, here's your host, Bill Broderick.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer and columnist in the big chair once again on WBCK for Coach's Corner in downtown Battle Creek, Lakeview Ford on the Motor Mile. You are right. For more than 6 decades, Coach's Corner has been talking to the city high school coaches about the week in sports. And we will continue that as we head in the second week of the boys basketball season with our first Coach of the Morning. But first, here's the Lakeview Ford Coach's Corner scoreboard. On Tuesday, the week got started for boys basketball. Lakeview beat Coldwater in a non-conference game, 39-36. Olivet got past Harbor Creek, 77-55. Penfield earned its first win of the year and beat Lake Odessa, 57-35. In the midweek game on Wednesday, a couple of city rivals went after it. St. Phil beat Calhoun Christian, 61-41. Week continued on Thursday. Penfield played a non-conference game against Gull Lake and beat the Blue Devils 52-43. On Friday night, last night, in the game of the night, Marshall toppled Harbor Creek before a big crowd at Harbor Creek, 65-55. Lakeview started smack play and beat Gull Lake 71-44. St. Philip had a big game from its shooters from the outside and knocked off Colon 57-43. And Battle Creek Central lost to Kalamazoo Central 61-30. We'll be back with our first Coach of the Morning after this break on 95.3 FM WBCK.
Coach's Corner on 95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
That's Bill Broderick, sports editor and columnist of the Battle Creek Enquirer, back here on Coach's Corner. We're here with our first Coach of the Morning, Coach Burns, the Penfield Panthers. How's it going, Coach?
Good morning, Bill. I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here.
You had a tough week in the first week of the season, but things turned around quickly. A lot of smiles around the Panther program this second week. You guys kind of are clicking a little bit now.
Yep. We had a good week of practice. Been able to string a couple of good practices together. Went up to Lakewood on Tuesday, and really kind of locked in emotionally. Defensively played well, and things started coming together throughout that game, and backed it up on Thursday as well.
You guys seem to be a little bit more on the same page now. Did that take a little while for everyone to do that, maybe in that early season situation, and now you feel like you can put your foot in the ground and kind of go forward from here?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. I mean, it's kind of early in the season to say, okay, it's kind of a turning point, but hopefully if we can kind of put some of that stuff behind us, and then down the road we'll be able to look back and say, this was a good thing, and had some, tough conversations with guys, and so hopefully a learning process, and we grew from it. And again, we need 12 guys, and so we had 12 guys this week, and we saw the results.
You opened the week with a non-conference game, Lake Odessa. You guys have played them the last couple of years. You beat Lake Odessa 57-35. You jumped on them early. You had 19-5 lead in the second quarter and led 28-11 at 28-11 at halftime. Deshaun Boykins had 16 points and 3 assists. Calvin Pisons came up with 12 points and 8 rebounds. Brevin Bailey played strong again for you, 10 points and a couple blocks. What did you like out there when you saw maybe that early start was big for you? Yeah.
So second quarter was really strong. We came out in the first quarter and still kind of a little chaotic, and I think that goes with a little bit of a young inexperience. We haven't quite been able to kind of control and harness our kind of emotions and excitement at the beginning of games. So the first quarter was a little bit chaotic. Once we were able to settle in, through that second quarter, we started executing, and that was the kind of message at halftime. Just execute, get good looks, make them defend, and then, we saw the ball start going through the hoop and a little bit more fluid offensively.
Yeah, like you said, you outscored them 19-5 in that second quarter. And was that a lot from the outside shooting that you saw some offense going that way? Is that what's going, or is it you kind of get it inside to your big guys?
Both. We did shoot the ball a little bit better from the perimeter on Tuesday. We did not shoot the ball well at all in the first week. Shot it a little bit better from the perimeter on Tuesday. Again, Deshaun saw a couple of perimeter shots go in. Brevin's a shooter from the perimeter. Calvin Payson's really played well that night, both inside and outside. He's a guy that can go and play on the perimeter for us and also go down low. So another young guy who's kind of getting used to the tempo and the pace and the physicality. And we saw 2 good games from him this week.
When you have a start that you guys had in a little rough week that first week, when you're up 28-11 at halftime, that halftime speech can say, hey guys, this is how we're supposed to be playing, right? Is that kind of how it was at that halftime?
Yeah, it was. You reset again. We don't have that track record of knowing what we're going to see when we come back out, even from a timeout, let alone halftime. So it was 0-0. Let's set some goals defensively. Let's come out and keep the intensity up. But again, in the third quarter, we were a little bit more lackadaisical. So we need to find that consistency. Quarter in, quarter out, day in, day out. So set some new goals at halftime of what we wanted to see and accomplish in the second half, and see if we could work through some of those things execution-wise, patience, on the offensive side while maintaining the intensity on the defensive side.
You had a short turnaround. You came back and played on a Thursday after playing on Tuesday, and you played Gull Lake, Division I team there, and you took care of them pretty well. You beat them 52-43. Another nice start for the Panthers. You led 25-16 at halftime. Calvin Payson's again had a nice game, 13 points, 11 rebounds. Brevin Bailey again in the scoring column with 13 points, 5 rebounds. Jonathan Lake chipped in with 10 rebounds in the post there for you and a couple of blocks. What did you like against Gull Lake and that short turnaround and getting things going and keeping that momentum going for the week?
Yeah, so we did see a little bit better focus and organization in the first quarter. We weren't as chaotic, so we were pleased to see some of that growth and lessons taken from previous games. So our composure was a little bit better to start the game. Defensively, I thought we played probably our best game yet. They're a quick team. They don't have a lot of size, and then we saw that play out through the course of the game, which from the rebounding standpoint and opportunities in the post for us, we were able to take advantage of those. So, but they're quick, they spread you out, and so I thought our defensive communication was the best we've played so far. And we did have length, and our guys did a very good disciplined job of just walling up and being long and taking, their main scorer, Watts, make them take tough shots. Defensively, I thought we played real well.
2 all week for Penfield. That sits up really nice. Things are going in the right direction for you guys. Let's talk about what's going on next week, who you have going, and who you play next week.
Yeah, so Tuesday we're back at home. We got Eaton Rapids coming in, another non-conference game. So Eaton Rapids coming in on Tuesday. And then we get to start our conference schedule on Friday. We're on the road at Parma. So Parma's playing well. They picked up a good road win last night at Northwest. So that'll be a good, tough week for us this week.
Not playing a conference game until the third week. Is there some positives or negatives to that? You feel like you have a lot of non-conference games going so far, and then finally getting going next week. It's
100% positive. To be able to work out some of the kinks in the non-conference. I mean, you want to win all those, but it doesn't have as much implication right now. So, to be able to sit back. And the reason why we haven't yet is, we would have played Lumen last night, but since they left conference, that was kind of our open conference night. So having Eaton Rapids as another non-conference game to kind of get into the flow of things before we're going to conference, we'll take that for sure.
This early start, you're able to set your rotation a little bit, get a little bit more comfortable. But do you have some guys that are kind of stepped up and a little surprised you early this year so far that you like early and hope that they kind of continue going with what's happening with them right now? Yeah, yep.
Again, so you just have a lot of guys that are inexperienced and through some illnesses and practice habits and things, we haven't been able to plug, a full rotation in. We were able to do that this week. Isaiah Adams played well both Tuesday night and Thursday night. Thursday night came out and gave us a good, quick 6 points in the second quarter, so nice spark. And the young guys are progressing. Calvin and Johnny, as the two sophomores, are adjusting to the pace of the game, and it's a different level than what they've experienced. So steady. We had a lot of contributions Thursday night. Zach Walling is kind of settling into that guard role. He finished with 9 points on Thursday, and just everybody's trying to carve out where they can be and how they can effectively impact a game in a positive way.
Well, it's a fun week for Penfield. We'll look for some more fun next week as you start Interstate 8 play late in the week there, and we'll talk a couple more wins next week when we sit down again next Saturday, Coach.
That would be a great time.
All right. Thanks a lot, Coach. We'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
Got a heater. Third quarter was crazy.
Hey, we're back with our next Coach of the Morning on WBCK 95.3 FM. This is Bill Broderick, sports editor and columnist of the Enquirer. And we're here with our coach, next Coach of the Morning, Mike Kimber, St. Phil Fighting Tigers. St. Phil had a real nice week, a couple of wins this week. Coach, how's it going this, Coach?
Good. Nice to see you, Bill.
Yeah, nice for you to be down here. A real fun week for the Tigers, a couple of wins, and then things kind of got rolling. As we talked before, you have a young team, and that first week up and down, and then now you seem to have settled in, and these young guys with a lot of experience showed something a little bit this week, and you had to like what you see, right?
Yeah, definitely like what I saw. We're young. We started off the season a little slow against Bronson last week, but boys came out ready to play this week, and so it was a welcome sight.
Opened the week against a little city rivalry you guys have with Calvin Christian, and then you played them on a Wednesday, a midweek game, which is always tough to play. It seems like you're kind of off schedule a little bit when those kind of things happen, but you guys were able to handle that pretty well. You won 61-41. And Jackson Zwick had his week started off fast with 26 points, and we'll find out a little bit more how he even did better than that later on. And his brother Carter Zwick had 21. And the Calvin Christian guys, Camden Smith and Mike Arena, had 15 points each. But getting that big win, how did that kind of start? Did you guys get off to a nice start there, a fast start against Calvin Christian?
Not really, actually. They hit some tough shots early on, so I think it was 12-12 at the end of the first quarter. They made some real tough shots early on, and so it was kind of like we did get off to a little bit of a quick start, but they kind of countered it with some made baskets, some made threes, and so we weren't able to get any separation early, but we were able to get it going a little bit later.
That's a fun little rivalry you guys have with Calvin Christian. We've talked before a little bit about how some of those boys play on soccer team together and some other sports, and they see each other a lot in town there. Similar schools and similar programs there at different places every once in a while and with their programs. But when you play Calvin Christian, do you guys circle that a little bit? Do you guys kind of get up for that game or anything? Yeah,
one of our team goals for the year is to beat our rivals, and so we definitely, with that being the first rivalry game we had of the year, we definitely circled that a little bit as kind of a little bit of our first test. Boys came out really strong, worked their butts off, but we had to keep them at bay a little bit early on. Had to remind them, you guys might be friends off the court, but tonight you gotta let that go just for an hour and a half, 2 hours, just to get the little mental edge going.
Played that on Wednesday, and then you had the quick turnaround, came in and played the Friday night game. You played another team that is a little bit of a rival. That they're not as close, of course, to Calvin Christian, but Coleman's been a team that's kind of had your number the last couple of years, so they've been loaded the last couple of years. They're kind of going through a little bit of a rebuilding situation now. And you guys were able to take advantage of that a little bit. Kind of a tight first half, but you broke open 23-11 in the third quarter and took over that close game. And Jackson Zwick went off a little bit from the three-point line. He had 18 points in that quarter. ended up with 34 points overall with 5 triples. And all of a sudden, the St. Phil Tigers have a 57-43 win over Colon.
Yeah, Jackson, we briefly talked about it off air. He had a heater. He got on a real big heater in that third quarter, and anything that he put up, it looked good. And you can kind of tell when he's shooting the ball well that he gets that little confidence in him, and you just see when it comes off his hand, it's like, oh, this one's got a shot to go in. And so he took a couple deep ones, and they went in. Normally, I don't like him coming from so deep, but when he's rolling a heater like that, I kind of trust him to shoot it from anywhere. But yeah.
And didn't need a whole lot of points from anyone else when you have someone going off like that. But some other guys kind of step up once people figured out that they have to kind of slow down Jackson.
Yeah, our defensive effort was tremendous in the third quarter. We actually got off to a really slow start in the third quarter, and we plugged in Lincoln Diswick. He came off the bench for us, and he's just kind of me and my JV coach Hunter Haley. We talk about it. He's kind of like our not like it, but he's kind of our energy guy, kind of like a Draymond Green type of thing, where you just plug him in when he needs some energy. And we're real quiet on the defensive side, and he came in and was very vocal. Cole Myers got a bunch of steals in the passing lanes. I didn't have time to do stats last night, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how many steals he had, but he probably had 4 or 5 alone in the third quarter. I mean, Sawyer Weiss has been massive this year defensively. I need to get him going a little bit offensively, but his defense has stepped up, and then Christian Gaona and Nate Rappeljay and Carter last night, who had an off night offensively. Those 3 guys cleaned up on the glass, and so that was big because they are much taller than us, but we definitely toughened them up.
Cullen's a team that we kind of pay attention to the last couple of years because they've had such a couple of good seasons. They've lost a couple of guys. Maverick Downs is still there, though. He had 19 points, including 3 triples. What did you do well against kind of slowing him down, but slowing the rest of the team down is kind of maybe what's the key for you guys?
Yeah, our main focal point was Dalton Williams, number 13 on their team last night. He hit 2 or 3 threes to start the game. He finished with 12 points, but after we took a timeout in that first quarter, the boys really locked in on him. We played our 2-3 zone all night, and we kind of tried to pack it in so we could rotate a little bit quicker where he was. And so we were on the sideline hooting and hollering everywhere Dalton was. So yeah, every guy knew exactly where he was. So they did a great job. Maverick hit some big shots. It was just kind of one of those things that we were just keying in on Dalton so much that Maverick was able to get a couple shots off quick rotations in the zone. And so we'll live with that. We still got to clean up some of our rotations defensively. I mean, we're far from a finished product, but definitely the boys understood the assignment of shut down Dalton and we can win tonight. And so they did a tremendous job.
It's also fun to get a win in conference and against a Colon team that's kind of taken care of you guys the last couple of years. The guys kind of feel pretty good after that game and then ready for a big week going next week. Who do you guys have coming up, and who are you excited about playing?
Yeah, we got one game this coming week. It's against Bellevue. It's a Friday night at their place, so it'll be our first road game. But the way I put it to the boys is we got 4 days of practice. We got some beat Bellevue drills that we're gonna put in. Well, they're already in, but we're gonna work real hard on those this week. Little toughness drills because we know Bellevue likes to get after. They like to press you, but they're a real physical team. And so if we can counter their physicality and get into them too, hopefully good things will go next Friday because our boys are playing well. And I know how much they really want to beat Bellevue. Me and my coaches personally from our high school days, Climax is our biggest rival, but the boys nowadays, they look at Bellevue as their biggest rival, and I've never beat Joe, so I'm kind of taking this one as a little bit more of a Climax approach to it.
Yeah, a little Bellevue. Not a lot of teams in the conference have beaten Bellevue the last couple of years. They've been on a roll, almost a 10-year roll right now going on. Mm-hmm. And the idea that they're a little banged up this year, and maybe this is the year that you can get them. They lost their top player in the preseason, and St. Phil is playing well. Getting them on the road and having a couple of days to get ready for them, the kids kind of understand that's going to be the big one, and they press you all over the place. Is that what you're talking about in terms of those Bellevue drills? And you have to get that figured out and make sure you can handle the press, right?
Yeah, getting the ball out quick, looking for the open guys. We handled their pressure pretty decent last year, honestly. So just kind of like taking care of the basketball, making sure we don't make any bad passes, and just, executing on the offensive end, because we know they like to get out in transition. Their top two guys, Caleb Betts is a tremendous player for them, and I know he likes to leak out in transition, and so we're going to have to key in on that, making sure we're getting guys back in on defense, because we've been crashing the offensive glass a little hard right now, which I like. But I know that Bellevue likes to try to get those easy back-end baskets, and Caleb's a tremendous player in transition.
All right, we'll talk about the Bellevue week next week, and maybe a win for the St. Phil Fighting Tigers, and get that monkey off the back there, and see how it's going, Coach.
Sounds good, Bill. Thanks.
With our next Coach of the Morning on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Coach's Corner on 95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
Hey, we're back with our next Coach of the Morning, Coach Bowling of the Harbor Creek Beavers. How's it going, Coach?
Good morning, Bill.
Thanks for coming on down here. We had a big game with Harbor Creek Beavers last night, game of the night for us and the Enquirer. Marshall came to town, and that's always fun, Marshall against Harbor Creek. Before we get to that, we'll talk about you guys started on Tuesday night and tried to get things rolling, and then came up a little short against Olivet. You lost to Olivet 77-55. It was Olivet's first win of the season. They have a tough backcourt led by Bo Lincoln. He had 15 points for them, and that left you a little short on the season. You still have that young team, and you play a team with a strong guard tandem back there. That leads to a little bit of problems. And is that what you kind of saw on Tuesday?
Well, we started out, I feel like on Tuesday we only played a quarter solid. We played our first quarter pretty well, and then the rest of the game was kind of subpar for us. I don't feel like we played with a lot of effort or intensity, or I guess urgency is probably the best word, especially at the defensive end. And, when we saw it again last night, it's no secret we're struggling offensively. So, they jumped out on us, and in that second quarter, I think they outscored us about 16-6. And then there's your ball game, because we're playing catch up.
Those offensive spurts that you're seeing come against you, how do you look at that? Is that the intensity thing, or is that some problems with the defense?
No, we're just struggling right now to adjust to. Well, one, there's a lot more pressure to perform, and then you don't have as much time and space, and you can't make the same mistakes. You don't have that margin for error, and if you don't shoot the ball around the rim well, and we haven't shot the ball real great yet from the perimeter. We are going to struggle a little bit, and that's what's kind of our bugaboo right now.
And when you get in that situation, you like to look around and say, hey, you guys have been through the wars before, and we can lean on you. But you don't have a lot of guys on the floor that have done a ton of that, and that can be a little bit of an issue right now. Is that right?
That's a little bit of an issue. Yeah, we play a lot of guys, and I think we have a lot of capable kids. It's just we're just not getting the job done right now. What we're doing, and it's kind of, I think, more of a mental thing as much as a physical, and learning how to play for 32 minutes. I kind of thought we would struggle a little bit based on size and strength and who we are from a personality standpoint on the defensive end a little bit, because you got to be able to dig in and just have a lot of gritty defensive possessions, and I knew we would struggle with that at times, but I didn't think we would struggle quite as much as we are at the offensive end, and it's just something we just got to work through.
Came back and you played a big Friday night game at home against one of your rivals in Marshall, and that's always a fun game for the community, and the community did come out on both sides. The stands are full, and that was nice to see. Marshall got out fast, scored the first 12 points of the game, and ended up holding off, and you guys lost 65-55. That early start for Marshall in a situation where you guys are still winless on the season, and the way it happened with a lot of fast breaks and easy buckets for Marshall, that's not what you want to see at the start.
No.
That's a big insight.
There you go. Well, that was good insight. You're absolutely right. You never want to spot anybody 12 points, and that was kind of you look at the final score, it's definitely part of the difference. Again, struggled offensively, and that's just kind of how it is. And like I said, we got to work through that. So at this point, too, I think we're 0-4. We're played 3 teams that are all expected to also win their conference, with Marshall and Olivet and Mattawan on that division on the SMAC. So they're supposed to be favored in the West. So we've played some quality opponents. You would like to see us improve a little bit more, but it's not like we're playing a bunch of slouches at this point. And that's part of it too. We jumped in the deep end of the pool, and we just got to start swimming a little faster.
You guys stuck with it, and you guys scrapped and clawed, and like you did, you guys play physical that way and hustle, and you saw a lot of that last night. And despite that early deficit, you guys kind of got back in the third quarter with a 3-pointer at the buzzer at the end of the third quarter by Braden Best. Cut the lead to 45-38, and then to start the fourth quarter, you had a couple of 3-pointers go up, and they kind of hit the rim and rolled around and came back out a couple times, and that would have cut it down to 4 and put a little pressure on Marshall at that point. That didn't happen, and then Marshall went on another 8-0 run at that point, and then another spurt there kind of put things to bed there. But that outside shooting and looking for the hot hand seems to be the key for you guys, because you play a lot of people. The rotation isn't quite set with a key 5 guys. You have 10 guys who can all play, 10, 11 guys who can all play, and looking for that hot hand. And that seems to be what you're kind of doing right now. Is that right?
Well, we're looking for some consistency at both ends of the floor. Kind of struggling to find that, like I said, especially, we haven't had Spencer Denny's done a nice job for us offensively, done a real good job there as far as scoring the ball a little bit. Been probably one of our most consistent kids at that end of the floor. But, again, trying to find that right mix of groupings with what we do and trying to play some guys. And the physicality of the game definitely wore us down a little bit. So that's why the other part we play a lot of guys too, along with our style. But, we're just trying to find the right combinations at both ends so we have some balance both offensively and defensively. And that's a work in progress, and that might take us a little bit. And then, the ability for us to just want to physically step up and, it's a whole new ball game, and understand that, no one feels sorry for you. You just got to go keep battling and be as physical and as gritty as we can at times. And that's something we got to learn.
Season comes fast for everybody, and that is a good thing maybe when you're 0-4, because you get another chance to get some wins next week. Let's talk about who you're playing next week, and give us a little bit of outlook on what's going on.
We travel to Lakewood, up to Lake Odessa on Tuesday. I don't know too much about them. I've watched them on film once last night. Watch a little bit more again today. We're going on the road. That's probably one of the best things that could happen for us right now. Just kind of get out, get away. And then we play Northwest Friday at home, who has one of the best, we'll be facing one of the best guards in the league with Duncan Moffitt. I know he's planning on going to Alma to play next year. And he handles the ball and can shoot it from distance. So it's not just a 3-point line that we have to extend way out to him to probably about the volleyball line. And he'll be a tough cover for us, and we'll see what else they have to go along with him.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about those games next week, and maybe a couple of wins for the Harbor Creek Beavers when we come back. Thanks a lot, Coach, for coming on down.
Thanks, Bill.
We'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning here on WBCK 95.3 on Coach's Corner.
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
That's Bill Broderick, sports editor, columnist about the Enquirer, back here with our next Coach of the Morning on Coach's Corner. You're Coach Wickman of the Lakeview Spartans. How's it going, Coach?
It's going pretty well, Bill. How are you?
It's going pretty well for
Wonderful.
the Spartans. Right now, stringing some wins together. You guys opened the week with Coldwater, and that's always a tough matchup with Coldwater's been kind of on the top of the I-8 last couple of years, and that was way to get going, and you guys held them off of 39-36, low scoring game for them.
Yeah, we kicked the last field goal.
That's a good way to go about it. And but you guys had a big final quarter there. You outscored them 13-7 in the final quarter. What was going on there that you like to see, and then the way you guys kind of held on, and you have to like how you guys are kind of finishing games right now.
Yeah, so they apparently put in a brand new zone defense on Sunday, according to their coaches, and we hadn't practiced a whole lot against zone, and we knew there was a chance they could, and we worked on it a little bit on Monday night, but when we got down there, it was completely different than what we expected, and it just took our kids a long time to figure out what the heck was going on. And then, they stymied us for, I mean, you can tell by the score, right? But, we had we hung in there. Spencer shot well. I kept looking around, and he's one of our better 3-point shooters. He's kind of a streaky kid, but, he was on a good streak that night, and he hit a couple threes right in the last couple minutes of the second quarter. So instead of being down, 8 or 10 at half, I think we were down 2 or something like that, 2 or 3, which was huge. I mean, going into half and not being down in that big hole, and feeling a little bit of confidence that, hey, maybe the ball will go in the basket in the second half. And then in the second half, we got off to a really, really good start, took the lead early in the third. And then they made another run and got the lead back. And then in the fourth quarter, it was just kind of a battle of will at that point, I think.
LeBron Campbell's been playing well for you early this year. He played well for you all last year also, but kind of taking maybe another step up in terms of leadership. And he had 16 points to lead you against Coldwater. You get a lot of production out of your backcourt, including him. How big was his play there for you?
His play was huge. He kind of took over the game. I think, if I remember right, he scored 11 of our last 13 points in the fourth quarter. So that's a stat from Coldwater's radio, so I don't know if that's completely accurate. But bottom line is he did take over. And he had struggled earlier in the game, and took him out at one point in the fourth quarter and just said, look, we're not going to win this game unless you perform better. And he said, I know. I'm trying. And I'm like, I know you're trying, but we got to have something. So at that point, I don't know what he did in his mind, but he kind of took over and put us on his shoulders a little bit. And it's nice to know that you have that, in your back pocket. Not every team has a kid like that.
After only scoring 39 against Coldwater, you had a couple of good days of practice, and you put 71 up on Gull Lake. That's all coaching, right? A couple of good days of practice.
Absolutely, Bill. I like where your head's at.
That's right. You jumped on Gull Lake early. You won 71-44. You led 38-18 at halftime, and a big conference win for you, which is big. LeBron had another big game, 20 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, an all-around game. In that kind of game, you're going to get a lot of production from a lot of different places. Jake Harchek had 13 points, including a couple triples and 6 rebounds. And your big guy inside, Braden McGill, had 8 points, 8 rebounds. That's a nice win, and it's good to get those conference wins and knocking off a Gull Lake team that can be some trouble. They have a nice offensive backcourt there, and kind of shutting that part of that down and scoring 71. What'd you like to see in that Gull Lake game?
The biggest thing that I enjoyed last night was we got off to a really, really good start, and that's kind of been our bugaboo in our first 2 games is starting really slow. And so that was kind of our big focus going into the game last night. Excuse me. And our kids, we just kind of jumped on them. We decided we were going to full court press the entire game if we could. And we turned them over quite a bit. And, when you're turning teams over and getting easy shots, that gives everybody that confidence that anything I throw up there is going to go in type thing. And we just, we played really, really well defensively, which led to a lot of easy things for us at the other end. So I was really, really happy with our start.
And a nice start in the league there. And you guys have aspirations with a nice team coming here. How big is that 2-0 start in the league, and then getting things rolling, and in terms of confidence and how these guys feel like they're playing right now?
Yeah, well, actually, I think we're only 1-0 in the league. Yeah, it's hard because we always have played Marshall and Coldwater like they're in our league, right? So I understand that. But yeah, we're 1-0 in the league, and there's obviously somebody else who's 1-0, but there's also some other teams that are 0-1 or maybe 0-2 at this point. So, and Gull Lake's kind of been, between them and Kalamazoo Central, have been the kind of the kings of the league or the East Division the last, 3 or 4 years, and so it's a really good start to the league. It's awful early to be getting too happy about it, but I was really pleased. I was really pleased with Braden McGill last night. He's had a rough start to the season, and he missed the whole summer because he had a knee injury, and he's finally starting to feel like he's comfortable a little bit, and I think that's gonna pay huge for us in the long run.
You have a big week next week. Let's talk about who you're playing next week and what you got in front of you.
So we play Tuesday, Thursday next week. We get to come back home after a week away with Lakeshore coming in on Tuesday, and my good buddy Sean over there. We've developed quite a relationship as coaches over the years. And then Thursday we go over to Portage Central, who, from what I can see so far score-wise, is they're scoring a lot of points and winning a lot of games. So big tough week. Lakeshore is going to defend. They're going to run their offense. I always tell our kids if they could beat you 2-0, he'd be the happiest man alive because he really prides himself on defense and ball control. And, so that'll be a tough one. I'm glad we're at home. I feel like we always go to Lakeshore, but we get them at home this year. And then going over to Portage will be tough. I mean, they're playing well, and they got a good group of kids that have kind of grown up on the varsity, and this might be the year where they're all seniors finally. I haven't gotten that familiar with them yet, but it's a big week for us. They're all big weeks, obviously, but just we want to keep this momentum going and keep building our culture. Our kids are starting to really like each other. They're starting to really like being around each other, and there's a lot to be said for that, as far as getting yourself through some tough times when everybody's pulling in the same direction. It makes those tough times easier to deal with, and maybe you can be more successful because of that. So I really like the direction our heads are, our heads are locked in, and our kids are all, at this point, we're in it for the right reason.
Well, we'll talk about a couple of big games next week for the Lakeview Spartans when you come back next Saturday. Thanks for coming down here, Coach. We'll have another short break, and then we'll wind things up for this week on Coach's Corner after this on WBCK 95.3 FM.
On 95.3 WBCK, proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
Bill Broderick, sports editor and columnist of Battle Creek Enquirer, back here on Coach's Corner. Looks like Coach Crum isn't going to be able to make it down here with us today, but Battle Creek Central went 0-2 on the week. They lost to Jackson in their season opener on Tuesday. Battle Creek Central didn't play the first week of the season with everybody else, and they had that extra week, and they still got off to things a little bit slow. And then they played their big rival last night, Kalamazoo Central, and that's always a tough game for both teams, and one that both teams circle. And Kalamazoo Central has been the monster in the league for several years, and Kalamazoo Central took care of business 62-42. Leah Mosley had 12 points to lead the. I'm sorry, that's the girls' games. The girls' game, Valkyrie Central also lost to Valkyrie Central. In the boys' game, Kalamazoo Central won 61-30. Michael Mosley had 9 points for the Bearcats, and Josh Pittman added 8. We have a big week ahead of us here. Valkyrie Central is going to get going, and they're going to start playing a couple of games per week now after their slow start here. They're going to play Portage Northern at home on Tuesday, and then they go and play at Gull Lake next Friday. So that'll be a chance to see what the Bearcats have. Gull Lake's been a team that people kind of match up well against, and if you're playing well, you can kind of knock them off. They have a couple holes this year based on graduation losses, and they have some size problems. Valkyrie Central's little issue is size also. Like Coach Wickman was saying, Gull Lake comes and they get they don't have to. They have Stevensville Lakeshore coming. They're making a long trip from Lake Michigan into Battle Creek, and they're going to play Lakeshore on Tuesday. And they're going to play at Portage Central and SMAC play later in the week. Coach Bowling was talking about the Harbor Creek schedule earlier. At Lake Odessa, who we saw play against Penfield, and Penfield took care of them, and Harbor Creek has to go to Lakewood there on Tuesday. And then they get Interstate 8 conference against Jackson Northwest, which has been a tough team the last several years. Penfield is staying at home on Tuesday. They're playing a non-conference game against Eaton Rapids, and they're going to play in conference at Parma Western, another challenge for the Panthers there. And the St. Phil Fighting Tigers that we talked about was after playing a couple of rivals, Collin Christian and Cullen. They play another one next week in their lone game of the week at Bellevue. That's always a tough matchup for everybody. Bellevue has suffered some injuries this year, and maybe that's a situation for St. Phil. Can kind of end a little bit of losing streak to the Broncos. Bellevue has owned the league and owned the area actually in their division for several years. They have 8 district titles in a row, and they've been rolling, but they lost their big guy in the middle before the season even started to knee injury, and they're still looking for things to happen with there. Girls basketball season got started this week also. It was the first week for them. Opening night was on Tuesday, and there's several good teams in the area that are looking to get things going. Harbor Creek lost to Olivet on Tuesday, and then Harbor Creek lost to Marshall again on Friday night in the big game. But we'll talk a little bit more about all the week in basketball next week with our coaches when we come back next week on Coach's Corner. I'm Bill Broderick from Battle Creek Enquirer, a sports editor and columnist at the Enquirer, and we'll be back another week at Coach's Corner next week, same time, same station, down here at Lakeview Ford in downtown Battle Creek. Thanks a lot.